The term the Democrats now want you desperately to believe. Well, I'll let you listen to it so you can be perfectly clear and understand for yourself, and we'll discuss it afterwards. Listen.
Joining me right now, CNN political analyst Carl Bernstein. He is the reporter who helped break the Watergate story in the early 70s.
This is something far worse than occurred in Watergate.
That what we are watching in the Trump presidency is worse than Watergate. Or that what we're seeing is worse than Watergate.
This feels a lot worse than Watergate.
This is so much worse than Watergate.
No, this is far worse than Watergate.
Do you fear what's going on now, what has happened, is actually worse than Watergate?
Multiple times worse, Wolf.
This literally is worse than Watergate.
This is much, much, much worse than Watergate.
And the facts here are even graver than in Watergate.
Oh, yeah. Everything is worse than Watergate. Worse than Watergate. It's worse than Watergate. The histrionics are quite something, aren't they? And that was all during Donald Trump's presidency, of course, when the media claimed every little thing was going to bring him down, that the walls were closing in, another term they liked a lot. It wasn't journalism, of course. They were practically salivating over the notion the media was trying to will it all to happen, and now they're doing it again as they continue the pointless J6 committee hearings, accusing Donald Trump of committing an insurrection that never happened and riots that he had little to do with. Let's just get to the bottom line. This is the third attempt to keep the barbarian at the gates. President Donald Trump, that, of course, from busting through and getting reelected, because that scares the Democrats like nothing else. And the deep state, which we've come to learn is a very real thing, more than anything. You see, they're willing to try anything, to do anything, and to say anything to prevent him from ever returning to the Oval Office. That is the overriding theme of the embarrassing J6 hearings. Trust me. First of all, nobody's really watching, so I'm letting you know. But the networks are back to following it all breathlessly and using the same lines that they've used against Republicans for as long as I can remember. Well, at least since 1975, anyway. This is worse than Watergate. Remember, Watergate itself, it was this, it was that. But Watergate itself, not much of a crime. The cover-up is what caught people out in the open. Sent people like Richard Nixon into retirement and G. Gordon Liddy to prison. So let's take a closer look at those times and the whole term worse than Watergate. Let's take a closer look and make some real comparisons, shall we? How about some economic comparisons? In 1975, when Watergate came to a head, the unemployment rate in America was 9%. During the Trump years, it was less than half of that, and Joe Biden claims it's now 3.5%. In 1975, gasoline was 57 cents a gallon. Today, that would equate to $3.06. But when Donald Trump left office, it was less than $2.35. Inflation in 1975 was just over 6%. But of course, the second worst president in recent history, Jimmy Carter, was able to goose that number significantly higher before he left office. And Joe Biden would have an inflation rate today of over 18% if we still measured the same way. This comes, of course, after we posted a rate today of 9.1%, which I predicted. So worse than Watergate? No, it really doesn't look that way now, does it? In 1975, America was pessimistic, nothing like today, with the worst optimism rates for small business and consumers ever recorded now, under the failing leadership of, and if you can even call it leadership, of Joe Biden. Worse than Watergate? Do you think if one of the Nixon kids was caught on camera naked with prostitutes, doing illegal drugs, buying guns illegally, and waving those both around on camera, while prancing around tugging his junk, that America would consider the Watergate era worse than what we're going through right now? Come on. Me either. I may not like electric cars a lot yet. I am pretty sure they would stand up to the Chevy Chevette, the Ford Pinto, and the, good Lord, the AMC Pacer. Let's be honest. Worse than Watergate? All of that? Please.